Since the Brexit issue began, Europeans started to question which country would be next. Would it be Greece? Perhaps it would be Italy. A movement has been growing in the Eurozone to be unchained from the shackles of the EU common currency. Is it possible that Italy will be able to have economic sovereignty once again? You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we're going to look at an issue that wasn't really brought up as much as I believed it should have been. We are talking about Italy discussing a parallel currency. They haven't instituted it entirely, but it did go through their parliament, and I do believe that this is worthy of discussion. We have a bunch of states all together unified under an unelected set of technocrats that force them onto one interest rate, one central bank, and one common currency. There are very different countries amongst this group. When you have Germany and Greece in the same pile, it seems to be very difficult to manage. There's no way, no matter how intelligent this group of people are, they can't make it work. So far, since the creation of the euro, it seems to be a failure. What the future has in store, I'm not sure, but at this time, it isn't looking very good. This is an article out of the Telegraph. I want to come back to it, but they mentioned something quickly at the bottom here. The Lega 5-star government in Italy passed a decree in the Italian parliament authorizing the creation of a parallel payment system known as mini-bots, a scheme decried by critics as a threat to the integrity of the euro and potentially a lira in waiting. So again, it made it through the parliament, but it isn't officially happening today. I just want to make that very clear. But this does tell you that the government is looking at these things and they want some sort of freedom. Initially, we had heard about them wanting to leave the Eurozone, and then when this government came to power, they decided to agree on not leaving. There was not going to be an Ital-Exit as part of their program, and as far as I understand, they have actually taken out of all their verbiage. They are not discussing that at all. This is just one part of it. If they can get off the currency, that alone would make such a major change. I would love to see that happen, but only time will tell. Okay, and then I want to connect that in with this Bloomberg article here. This explains why a parliamentary motion on how the state pays its arrears it owes to commercial businesses, which Italy's lower chamber passed last week, has caused such an uproar. The document invited the government to consider issuing small denomination bonds to help speed up its settling of debts. As they say just in the second paragraph, essentially what had been done here is symbolic in nature for the most part. But I don't agree with that because it tells you how many of these individuals inside the government of Italy actually want to do away with the EU in general. They don't accept them. They are fighting them on all levels. And sometimes we see them take, sometimes we see them give. This has been the strongest opposition to the technocrats that we have seen in a long time. Greece, for instance, was the complete opposite. They said, Troika, come in, do whatever you want, and they took all of their precious assets. I'm not sure what's left, but of course, Italy is a very different country. We're going to see if they can actually go ahead and make some big change. I also wanted to clarify what they mentioned here. The creation of a parallel currency would be illegal under the EU treaties and would push Italy out of the Eurozone. This is what they are suggesting. There are many rules, but just as they said, with their deficits, with their debt, all of these other factors, nobody ever plays by the rules anymore, it seems, and it's very interesting to see all of these countries going way beyond what they are technically supposed to be, and yet they can't really do anything. They said they were going to fine Italy if they decided to defy the EU overlords, but that remains to be seen because, of course, as long as they say they're going to do something, if they fail to actually achieve it, they probably won't be held accountable. But again, we'll see as it actually happens. I'll bring you that information. German Bundesbank comes clean on euro default risks after Italy's parallel currency decree. Now check this out. The German Bundesbank has warned that it could face heavy losses if a major country leaves the euro and defaults on debts to the European Central Bank system, but warned that any attempt to prepare for such a crisis could backfire by triggering a speculative wave. So they can't get ready for it because that seems like they're actually going ahead and dealing with an issue when the issue isn't there. That would create an issue, and my goodness, that would spiral out of control. So remember right now the effect all of this has on Germany, not just this parallel currency idea, not the Ital-Exit idea, but everything that's happening in Europe today profoundly affects a country like Germany. This is why I believe having a unified currency is never a good thing. You can do trade in between two countries using two different currencies. There is no reason whatsoever to have a unified currency in order to do trade, in order to have good relationships. I don't understand how this could be so convincing to so many people. Italy's gold reserves belong to central bank. That's according to the Bank of Italy's governor. So you have people like Salvini, and then you have on the opposite end the Bank of Italy, the ECB, the EU. All of these individuals are facing off against each other right now. Now, I don't believe that the government in Italy, all of the people involved, really agree with Salvini and some of the hardliners, but there is a growing group of people that are clearly right now, very clearly going ahead with the plans to be much more forceful, to be much more strict in what they believe to be best for their country. And then I just wanted to end off with this here. This is related, and I've shown you other similar bits of news over the years. What we are talking about here is Russia and China joining forces together on so many different levels. Economically, we have seen their ties get stronger and stronger and stronger. Basically, what they're talking about here is the fact that they want to do bilateral trade using their own currencies, doing away with the US dollar. They continuously reinforce this on many different levels. They have been doing so for a while in many instances, but this even further exaggerates what we have seen. And I do believe that's a good thing. Why do you have to translate your money into another currency in order to then get the product you wanted from a different country? It doesn't make any sense. If I wanted to, for instance, travel to China and I'm a Russian person, I would speak to the person in English, and then that English is then translated into Chinese. It doesn't make any sense, but that's the way it works today. It's crazy. There was a time for that. We don't really need that anymore, at least on such a grand scale. If you're going to have reserves as a central bank, you can actually create a system that allows you to do business with other currencies. You don't need to necessarily do all of your trade in one particular currency. That's what's happening in Russia and China today, and I do believe for their own economies, this is smart. Many other countries are doing the same. I have shown you dozens and dozens of countries that are using currency swaps with China, using their own currencies, using the Chinese currency specifically, and that tells you things are changing. It's going to take a long time to have a major impact, but certainly we are headed in that direction. That's all for this video. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. When you give me a like, you're supporting me. I do appreciate that very much, particularly with the acceleration of the trolls on the channel. Unfortunately, that's the way that things go. If you want the financial education you were not taught in school, these two books have everything you need from top to bottom, A to Z. You can get all the details at the link in the description. I actually talk about the reserve currency. I do talk about central banks and interest rates and other topics in both of these books, so you can definitely check that out at the link in the description. If you want the audiobook, that's available at themoneygps.com. If you want to know what's going on in the real economy, you will see 7,200 plus stores are closing down today. I show you the exact data, where to get it, when it's updated on a day-to-day basis. Check this out. See you there.